Picture Mohamed Salah standing alone in the center circle, both arms raised above his head and crossed into the shape of an X, while 70,000 people inside Atlanta Stadium try to work out what they just watched. Egypt were winning. Egypt were 2 goals up with 11 minutes left on the clock, one win away from the biggest night in their football history. And then it fell apart in 13 minutes. 3 goals. 3 goals from Argentina, one after another, while a video review system had already erased one Egyptian goal and waved away a penalty shout for another. By full time, the score read 3-2. Egypt were out, and the story was never really about the scoreline. It was about what forced that scoreline to happen. That is the sentence FIFA did not want written down in an official letter. Not a sore loser's rant. A formal complaint, filed the very next morning, accusing a World Cup referee of double standards and demanding he never take charge of another match in this tournament. So let us go through exactly what happened, because this one is bad. Start with the facts, plain and in order. Tuesday, July 7th, Atlanta Stadium, round of 16. Egypt led 1-0, then 2-0 against the defending champions. In the 58th minute, forward Mostafa Zico finished a flowing move to make it 2-0. The video assistant referee stepped in, rewound the play roughly 20 seconds, and ruled that Marwan Adia had fouled Lisandro Martinez in the buildup. Goal disallowed. Late in stoppage time, with Egypt still leading, Hamdi Fathi went down under a challenge in the Argentina box. No penalty was given. The video assistant referee did not even send the referee to the screen. Argentina broke forward, and then everyone waited for the whistle that never saved Egypt. It came apart with brutal speed. In the 79th minute, Lionel Messi set up Christian Romero for the first goal. 2 more followed inside 13 minutes, the last one 2 minutes into stoppage time, as Argentina's bench erupted and Egypt's players stood frozen, unable to process how a 2-goal cushion had simply vanished. Egypt's goalkeeping coach was sent off in the chaos on the touchline. Final score, 3-2, Argentina. Egypt's first ever World Cup quarterfinal, gone in less time than it takes to watch a single half of highlights. Here is the official version, and here is what the world actually saw. FIFA's chief refereeing officer, Pierluigi Collina, said plainly that a foul is a foul and that the video assistant referee is allowed to intervene no matter how far back in the move it happened. That is the official version. And here is the reality. Former England goalkeeper Rob Green said live on air that the disallowed goal simply was not within the video review's realm to touch. Ian Wright said if you are willing to pull the play back for Egypt's goal, you have to pull it back for the Salah shirt tug too. Jamie Carragher said plainly that in the Premier League, or in Spain, or in Italy, that goal stands even after a review. Egypt's coach, Hossam Hassan, did not hold back either. We have been treated unfairly, he said, and it has been an injustice. Forward Mostafa Zico went further. It was a rigged game, he said. Not a controversial call, not a harsh one. Rigged, not one voice, not 2 voices, but an entire broadcast booth from countries that were not even involved, saying the same uncomfortable thing out loud. The Egyptian Football Association followed that up in writing the next day. Defending the rights and interests of the Egyptian national team, the federation said, is not a matter that can be ignored, minimized, or treated as secondary. Several key incidents, the statement continued, raised serious concerns and left profound questions about the consistency and fairness of decisions that directly influence the course of the game. That is not the language of a federation letting off steam. That is a federation building a case. So let's zoom out, because that's the real story here. This is not one bad night in isolation for FIFA. Just 6 days before Egypt's exit, American forward Folarin Balogun received a red card and an automatic 1-match ban for a challenge against Bosnia and Herzegovina. FIFA then suspended that ban using a rule never applied like this before. After the President of the United States publicly said he had personally asked FIFA's president to review it. Belgium called the decision a direct contradiction of FIFA's own competition rules. UEFA called it a crossed line. Days later, a video of Gianni Infantino congratulating Argentina's players after a group stage win started circulating online, with Infantino telling Argentine media he had suffered along with them during the match. He added that he remained neutral. Plenty of people watching did not buy that line for a second. Then, for the very quarterfinal that followed Egypt's elimination, FIFA appointed an entirely Argentine officiating team to referee France against Morocco. In the same week, it stood accused of favoring Argentina. Brick after brick after brick, all in one tournament, all building the same wall. Zico's disallowed goal, 20 seconds pulled back, one country furious. Fathi's ignored penalty shout, no review at all, same country, same night. Balogun's suspension, quietly reversed after a phone call, an entire continent objecting. An all-Argentine officiating crew handed the very next marquee knockout match, no explanation offered. Kalina's own statement, promising not to discuss individual incidents, then discussing two of them in detail. Belgium's federation, publicly stating it never even got a straight answer from FIFA about why the rules were suddenly different for one player. Egypt's own goalkeeping coach, sent off in the closing chaos, one more card added to a night already dripping with them. 4 different federations, 4 different grievances, one single governing body sitting in the middle of every single one of them. Stack it all up, and it stops looking like coincidence. It starts looking like a pattern. Now let me be fair for a second, because this channel does not deal in fantasy. By the letter of the rulebook, Kalina has a real defense. There genuinely is no time limit written into the video assistant referee protocol for reviewing a foul in the build-up to a goal. Stepping on an opponent's foot is technically a foul, however harsh the punishment feels. Academics who study the sport have made similar points. Simon Chadwick, a professor who studies football's business side, told reporters that a sense of injustice was induced by the video assistant referee decision, even while conceding that Egypt's players should not have let their emotions take over afterward. And it is also true, plainly true, that Egypt were 2 goals up with 11 minutes to go and did not hold on. No referee made Christian Romero lose his marker, and no video review system kicked the ball wide for Argentina's other efforts that night. Part of this collapse Egypt did to themselves. But that is exactly what makes this a crisis of trust instead of a simple bad call. Because a governing body that just spent a week bending its own suspension rules for one phone call has no credibility left to ask anyone to simply trust the process. So here's where FIFA is trapped, and there is no way out that looks clean. If FIFA clears referee François Letexier and his team, after Kalina has already defended them in public before any real investigation, it looks exactly like the cover-up everyone already expects. Nobody believes the line that officiating cannot be influenced, not from the same organization that reversed a suspension after a call from the White House. But flip it the other way. If FIFA quietly drops Letexier from the rest of the tournament, that is an admission, without ever saying the words, that the officiating was wrong and that a World Cup quarterfinalist advanced on a mistake FIFA's own body could not defend. There is no third option that rebuilds anything. So watch the team sheet. Quarterfinal officials get announced only a day or two before kickoff. If Letexier's name simply never appears again for the rest of this World Cup, you will have your answer, and FIFA will never say it out loud. A silent disappearance is how an organization admits fault without admitting fault. And you have to understand what this tournament actually meant for Egypt before you judge how they reacted to losing it. This is a 7-time champion of Africa that had never once reached a World Cup quarterfinal in its entire history. 11 minutes away from a first, the closest this nation has ever stood to rewriting 100 years of near misses. To have that taken away, not by a better team simply outplaying them, but in a way that half the football world found genuinely hard to defend, is a very specific kind of heartbreak. That is the wound this complaint is really about. It was never just about one disallowed goal. It was about a chance that will not come around again for years, disappearing in 13 minutes, under circumstances nobody at FIFA can fully explain out loud. Was this a case of Egypt failing to see out a 2-goal lead against the best player alive? Or was this a World Cup where the video assistant referee system was applied one way for the champions and another way for everyone else? Which side are you on? Tell me below. A like genuinely helps this channel more than you would think. Subscribe if you want World Cup coverage that treats you like an adult instead of an audience, that reads the statements line by line instead of just reacting to the scoreline. Because whatever FIFA does next, in the referee assignments nobody explains out loud, this tournament is never just going to be remembered for who lifted the trophy. It is going to be remembered for who everyone believed got there fairly and who did not. Football at this scale is never just a tournament. It is a moment that a country carries with it for years.